Have you ever found yourself saying yes when you desperately wanted to say no? Or perhaps bought something you didn't need, only to wonder later what possessed you? What if I told you that many of your decisions, big and small, aren't entirely your own? Prepare to uncover the hidden strings pulling your choices. Welcome to the fascinating, often unsettling world of persuasion. For decades, researchers have been decoding the mechanisms of human influence. The undisputed guru in this field is Dr. Robert Cialdini, whose landmark 1984 book, Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, revealed 6 universal principles that dictate how we're swayed. Cialdini identified reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. These aren't just abstract theories. They're psychological shortcuts hardwired into our brains, exploited daily by everyone from salespeople and politicians to advertisers and even your closest friends. Understanding them is your first step to immunity. Let's start with reciprocity, the deep-seated human need to return a favor. If someone gives us something, we feel obligated to give something back. Think about those free samples at the grocery store. They're not really free, are they? You feel a slight, subconscious pressure to purchase after receiving a small gift. And there's scarcity, the idea that we want things more if we perceive them as limited or hard to get. Limited time offer, only 3 left in stock. These phrases trigger our fear of missing out, driving impulsive decisions. It's not about the product's actual value, but its perceived availability. These principles aren't inherently malicious, but their power lies in their ability to bypass our rational thought processes. They tap into our automatic responses, guiding us towards actions that benefit the persuader. Recognizing these ingrained patterns is crucial for understanding why we often act against our better judgment. The power of persuasion goes far beyond simple marketing tricks. Sometimes, influence can compel us to act against our deepest morals. Consider Stanley Milgram's chilling obedience experiments in 1961. Ordinary people were told to administer what they believed were increasingly painful electric shocks to a stranger. The result? A staggering 65% of participants were willing to deliver what they thought were lethal shocks, simply because an authority figure in a white lab coat told them to continue. This wasn't about sadism. It was about the overwhelming influence of perceived authority. They trusted the expert, even over their own conscience. This leads us to another potent persuasion technique, the foot-in-the-door strategy, demonstrated by Friedman and Fraser in 1966. This technique showed that people who agree to a small request are significantly more likely to comply with a much larger one later on. It's all about commitment and consistency. In their study, people who agreed to put a small "Drive carefully" sign in their window were 400% more likely to later agree to place a huge, ugly "Drive carefully" billboard in their front yard. Once we make a small commitment, we feel internal pressure to be consistent with that initial action. Think about online subscriptions. You sign up for a free trial, perhaps giving your credit card details. Then, it silently rolls over into a paid subscription. You've already committed a tiny bit of effort and information, making it harder to cancel than if you hadn't taken that initial small step. But what if your choices are being manipulated before you even realize you're making one? Psychologist Dan Ariely's groundbreaking research on decoy pricing unveils how our decisions are not always based on objective value, but on the options presented to us and how they're framed. Ariely famously illustrated this with a subscription offer. When given 2 options, online only for $59 and print and online for $125, most chose online only. But when an inferior third option was added, print only for $125, suddenly, the print and online option for $125 became irresistible. The print only for $125 option was a decoy. It made the print-in online for $125 seem like an incredible bargain by comparison, even though the price was identical. This seemingly illogical third choice shifted consumer preference by up to 40%. Your choices are being architected without your conscious knowledge. This highlights a crucial aspect of persuasion. Our decisions are highly relative. We don't judge things in isolation, we compare them. Persuaders expertly craft these comparisons, guiding your attention and perception to make their preferred option shine, often at the expense of your best interest. Think about menu design, car packages, or even political polls. The options presented are rarely neutral. They are strategically designed to create a specific hierarchy of preference. Understanding this means recognizing that your free will is often navigating a landscape carefully designed by others. So, how do you protect yourself from these pervasive psychological traps? The first step is awareness. Simply knowing about these principles makes you less susceptible. When you encounter a sales pitch or a compelling argument, consciously ask yourself, which persuasion principle is at play here? For reciprocity, be wary of unsolicited gifts or favors. Accept them, but acknowledge that you own nothing in return. For scarcity, challenge the limited time or only a few left claims. Is the item truly scarce, or is it a tactic to rush your decision? Take time to evaluate without pressure. To resist authority, remember Milgram. Question the expertise and motives of the authority figure. Does their command align with your values? Don't blindly obey. For commitment, be cautious of small requests. Think through the long-term implications before saying yes to even a tiny initial step. And for decoy pricing, don't just compare option A to B. Ask yourself if you would buy option A if option B didn't exist. Look beyond the presented choices and consider what you genuinely need, independent of the available comparisons. Seek out alternatives not presented to you. Ultimately, reclaiming your decision-making power means developing a healthy skepticism. It means pausing, questioning, and consciously overriding those automatic mental shortcuts that persuaders love to exploit. Your brain is powerful, but it needs your conscious guidance to make truly free choices. The world is a complex web of influence, but by understanding the psychology of persuasion, you can become a more aware, autonomous decision maker. Don't let others control your narrative. If you found this fascinating and want to unlock more secrets of the mind, subscribe for weekly psychology insights.